You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Come along with us across the country on our first ever Winter Shop Tour Series with your host, Brian Fullerton. We're going to take a look at some of the best in the snow and ice management business and get a behind-the-scenes look at their snow equipment, field operations, shop tours, and so much more. We are proud to partner with Byers Products, Billy Goat Industries, and Western Plows to bring you these incredible tours and interviews. You're also invited to watch the corresponding shop tours on the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel. Get ready to learn the latest and the greatest on how to run a profitable snow and ice management business from these industry leaders. And now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys, and good morning. Well, guys, super excited about this podcast episode that I'm going to be bringing you here in just a quick second. We're hanging out with none other than Sam Gembel out there in Flint, Michigan with Atlas Outdoors. All right, I'm super excited about this podcast episode. Sam is a fire breather. He is an awesome dude, great person of character, great team over there. I'm telling you what, these guys are the real deal. Really quick, before we go too far down the rabbit hole, I want to say a big shout out to Billy Goat, Western, and Byers for sponsoring this fall tour shop series. Couldn't have done it without those guys. Now, some of the people that we've been able to interview have been at a distance, and of course, some of them have been local. And these guys, like I said earlier, were right up the road in Flint, Michigan, a little bit of an hour drive. Now, the fun thing was, Sam actually invited me to come on over by 7 a.m. because they have a morning huddle / breakfast and a crew appreciation day. And I had to get up about 5:30, hit the road for about an hour, as you guys can imagine, going up north. And then I was able to get over there just at 7 a.m. By the way, catching one of the most beautiful sunrises ever. And I was able to fly the drone a little bit and get to see their 90-plus team members all there, about 60, 70 guys out in the field, as you can imagine. I think they have, I couldn't even remember, 16, 20, 30-plus crews, whatever it is, just ridiculous numbers. But I was able to see the whole team out there at the outdoor living space patio that they have attached to this huge shop with a fire pit and outdoor living space and kitchen area. All the guys eating breakfast pizzas, just saying hey to each other, high-fiving each other. A couple of you guys actually were that work there came on up and said, "Dude, I love the videos. I had no idea you're swinging by to do a video at Atlas Outdoor." And I'm like, "Heck yeah, brother, this is awesome." So I got to say a big shout out to the whole crew there, from the newest guy on the team all the way up to Sam and everybody in between. They were super kind, super generous. The AV guys, Alex and Chris, they were awesome. And we just had a really, really good time there. Like I said, another regional business and player doing multi-millions in sales, as you guys can imagine. They have been around for 12 plus years, about 100 team members in total, and they're kicking butt and taking names. By the way, if you guys listen to this podcast episode and you like what you're hearing, I invite you guys to check out a little bit more for what you can be seeing at the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel. Their shop tour and video is going to drop today at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So come on out, check it out. Come on later to the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel, see what they got going on. I'm telling you what, it is so encouraging. It's so motivational to see that if you want to go for it, if you want to build the next $2, $5, $10 million company, it is wide open and you guys can still do it. All right. So that's what I got for you guys on this quick introduction. Let's do this really quick. We're going to hear from today's show sponsors and announcements, and then we're going to hear a little bit more from Sam Gembel coming up in just a quick second.
If you're willing to put in the work, the folks over at Byers Products will make sure you have the equipment to keep you working. From snow plows and salt spreaders to truck toolboxes, dump inserts, and a full array of LED lighting, Byers has everything you need to upfit your personal truck or commercial fleet. Offering cutting-edge work truck equipment right out of their Northeast Ohio facilities, Byers Products has you covered all year round. Check out a Dumper Dog dump insert to convert your pickup truck into a dump truck in no time. A Dumper Dog allows you to transport and unload heavy, loose material such as dirt, mulch, or stone with ease. Their powerful line of Snow Dog snowplows and Salt Dog spreaders, available for any truck size, half-ton or larger, are ready to attack every winter storm. Whether you're working at home, on the road, or in the shop, your equipment should be ready to go no matter the season. Trusted by businesses and municipalities nationwide since 1946, Byers' mission is to provide quality products at the best value with the quickest turnaround time in the industry. Do you have that dog in you? Visit buyersproducts.com to find a dealer near you and see for yourself why nothing works like a dog.
All right, guys, so we're sitting across from Sam Gembel over here at beautiful Atlas Outdoors over here in Flint, Michigan.
We are in Flint Town.
Holy cow,
Flint
dude.
Town.
I'm here. This has actually been a huge treat. I'm really, really grateful for the time, brother. This is so much fun. I love doing this. I really do. It helps so many guys in the industry paint the vision, paint the dream. For those guys that want to grow, get into a larger company, a larger outfit. So we're over here in Flint, Michigan. We just got done doing a shop tour, which I really invite you guys to check out on the Brian's Law Maintenance YouTube channel. And so Sam, we're going to kick it over to you really quick, brother. What's we call it the highlight reel on the podcast, but give me the 30 to 60, 90 second. Who are you? What do you guys got going on with Atlas? And we'll kind of get these guys up to speed.
So Atlas Outdoor, we're right here based out of Flint. I was the original founder of the company, started in our driveway 11 and a half years ago. And just lots of stuff throughout the journey. But today we've got about 95 landscape seasonal employees, and then we ramp up to about $120 in the winter.
Okay.
And so just full design, build, and maintenance. We're about a third. So commercial snow is now like a third, if almost taken more than a third of our business. It's crazy how much snow we do here, but it's a great location for us.
So awesome. We're going to break a bunch of stuff down here on the show today. We're going to talk about sales and marketing and leadership and culture. My gosh, I think you and I have done with the AV guys are actually right here next with us, Alex and Chris. I think we've done about 3 or 4 podcasts anyway today. Basically, we haven't recorded them, but every time I get Sam locked down for about 15 minutes, it's like, well, Brian, about culture and leadership and putting people into place. And I'm like, dude, that was a 20-minute podcast. And then we're talking about sales and marketing. You're like acquiring customers and this and this. And I'm like, that was a 20-minute podcast. So you were just like spewing. Is this like how you are? Do you just like wake up at 7 and spit fire all day? Or how does this work, brother?
Oh, that's funny. I guess it just depends on who you're around, right? Certain people just bring it out of you.
Yeah.
And, but man, I'm just wired nowadays just to add value to whatever I'm involved with, right? Life is short and we're only involved in so many conversations. So my thought is to always leave a conversation, better than I went in, but also the same thing for whoever I'm working with there, just adding value to that. So
I can tell.
It's just one of those things, man. 4:30 in the morning, getting up, filling my cup up with my time. And then from 7 a.m. on, I'm all in. So
that's so cool. So I got to meet your beautiful wife, Brandy.
Yep.
So she runs the HR division, insurance, a bunch of the probably detail work that guys like you and me have no business handling.
Yeah.
But they keep the wheels greased and everything moving. So take me back through the whole story. So obviously we're focusing on fall and winter shop tours here. And again, shout out to Buyers, Billy Goat, Western. Can't bring you guys this content without them. But this whole thing didn't happen overnight, right? Yeah. So it's been you said a 12-year journey.
Yeah.
So take me back to the beginning. Give me the, we can spend 2-3 minutes here talking about that whole evolution and journey. But a lot of guys want to build the next $1 million, $5 million, $10 million company. You guys have done it. So let's take it back to the beginning. What was that journey like?
So Atlas kind of started a lot like the same kind of story as a lot of people. It started just as a side gig.
Okay.
Just wanting to get into cutting grass. I loved cutting grass. So I used to work for a small local lawn care company.
Okay.
I was a lawn foreman there. And a couple years into that, I didn't realize, that I was pretty good at it. Humbly said, I was passionate about it.
Yeah.
From like 21 to 24 years of age. So we're like 01 to 04. And because I enjoy doing it so much, just like any other, leader person in the business, my boss at the time said, I'm going to promote you to be a production manager.
Okay.
So he takes me from the field doing what I love doing every day. And I now am training other people to do, what I was doing. And while I enjoyed that, it wasn't the same. I was the technician. I loved cutting grass.
Sure.
So what do? I go out and buy my own lawnmower and said, I'll just cut grass at night and on the weekends because I don't get to do it during the day anymore, but I just loved it. So I would go up and down. We lived in Davison on Atlas Road. I would just kind of drive up and down Atlas Road and mow the neighbors' lawns for beer money, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And never even realized that I was kind of building a business at the time.
Sure.
But at that point, I just did it because I loved cutting grass. I'd $30 in a case of beer and I'll cut you 2 acres, right? So,
well, that's a great rate, by the way. That's like $15 an acre.
Hey, it was awesome. Some guys still charge that, sadly, but
dude, that's a whole other story. Dude, you're not wrong. It's funny right there. There's a quick thing that I wanted to ask you. How old were you by the way when all this started?
So Atlas itself, or when I started cutting grass?
When you were starting cutting grass, and then when you started Atlas?
22 when I started cutting grass.
Okay.
Atlas became a full-time, as a side hobby, I was like 25, 26.
Okay.
We moved to Davison in 2005. So we lived in that house from 05 to 15 before we moved. So, it was like 2006, 2007 was kind of like the side business of Atlas.
Okay. And then you were what, 27, 8, 9?
Yeah, somewhere. So my wife, was, we were talking about how the relationship worked with her being in the business. So she went to U of M, Go Blue.
Okay.
She, her degree was in human resource. Oh. And so she worked for a local hospital, like straight up, totally different than this business, right?
Right.
And so she was, had a great job, had great insurance, great benefits. And so I'm working my day job. I'm cutting grass as a side job. And in 2010, we got pregnant with our first child, our daughter.
Okay.
So now my wife, comes to me. She's got her FMLA leave for 3 months. And she's like, I don't want to go back to work. Like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm like, all right, we had a pretty low maintenance lifestyle. I was doing okay, cutting grass on the side, had my day job. And it just got to be like where I was feeling more passion when I was working for my clients than when I was working my day job stuff.
Sure.
And so, fast forward through time, 2011, the company I was working for, the owner was kind of wanted to sell it. He wanted to get out.
Okay.
So like now I'm working for my boss is no longer passionate about the business that I'm working for. Here I'm loving what I'm doing with cutting grass. And it got to the point in 2011 early on where I said, I could just ramp up a few more hours of what I'm already doing and make what I'm making.
Right.
So it's and my wife, the whole journey is like, I don't know why you're burning a candle at both ends.
Okay.
Working a day job, coming home. So literally I'd get home, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock from my day job, go cut grass, throw mulch till 10, put a patio in on a Saturday. It was a mess, but I'm now a dad trying to feed, a stay-at-home mom, and then we have a daughter. And so it was just one of those things where, through prayer and things like that, my wife's like, we need to just do this.
But let me interrupt you really quick. A lot of guys listening in, that's what they're doing right now.
They do it. They're a firefighter by day.
Yes.
And then they're doing the lawn care thing. And so I'll tell you, I'll give you the kind of the cliff notes at the beginning of the journey. I decided to quit my job in May of 11 and go all in. June 10th, 2011, Atlas is born. So myself...
My birthday is June 10th, by the way.
It's a great day.
It's a great day.
I'll never forget that
I was celebrating. You were celebrating.
There you go. So June 10th, we're all in. Myself, a guy that I would have called my little brother at the time, and then I had drafted a couple guys to go do some kind of odd jobs for us. So I said, okay, we're going to go out. We've got 50, 60 lawns we're cutting. We've got a couple weeks of landscape work to do. We're a business.
Yeah.
And so me and my wife had about 20 grand in the bank then that we had saved up. She has no income coming in. So basically we have this business we've never paid these guys on payrolls, kind of under the table stuff. But now we're legit, right? We're a business. We're an LLC. And so that we cut the safety net, we go all in. And I knew that, okay, looking at our expenses personally, we could go for about 8 months and not have to take a paycheck from the company.
Sure.
So I said, okay, I've got 8 months to make this thing work.
Okay.
It's before I'm going to be able to pay myself anything. And so we go all in. Our first year from June 10th to December 31st, we did about 300 grand in revenue.
Wow.
And that was just hustling.
That's crazy.
That was just
brute
hustling.
force. Yeah.
We're out there. So by the end of the year, we had launched a second mowing crew.
Okay.
I was no longer cutting. I realized that my value wasn't going to be in mowing. So here I am again, the thing that I love doing, I got to give it up again.
Yep.
And but I wanted this business to work. I knew then, even what I value now as 100 employees has always been the same. I wanted my guys to be able to do what they loved, and they loved to mow. So I'm like, man, every time I'm on a machine, I'm taking hours from them.
That's fair.
Let me focus on growing the business, doing the landscaping, doing the irrigation, the stuff that I didn't have enough of to be full-time.
Yep.
And plus do sales and things and every other role. Everything. And so 2012, second year. So we're now all in on year 2. Without getting into too much detail, we broke our first $1 million in revenue in 2012.
Wow.
So first consecutive full year in business. We ended the year with about 15 employees. I think we had 11 or 12 vehicles by there.
Yeah.
And and there's so much in between that. Like I could, we don't need to go into detail about when we ran out of money personally. I gotta pay myself now because we don't have any money in the bank.
And if I can ask real quick, like, were you guys just cash flowing, growing at the speed of cash, borrowing a little bit? No right or wrong answer.
No, we had no credit because the banks won't. We had no business to get credit, so it's all funded through the money we're bringing in.
Wow.
And I will peel back the layer a little bit on the pay thing. So we couldn't pay ourselves. My wife comes to me March-ish of 2012 and says, "Hey, hon, like we're out of money."
Oh, wow.
And so we're prepared to do whatever we got to do to make this thing work.
Right.
We're all in. And so we said, okay, we've got to pay ourselves, but we're looking at the bank account, and literally every Friday, whatever we take in was all payroll.
Right.
Thankfully, we never were not able to pay our employees, but there also was no abundance because as quick as we could get a little bit of money in the bank, we need another mower. We need this. We have no credit, so we couldn't rely on that. I think I had a credit card that helped with some gas, but that was about it. And so we're out of money. So we're looking at our personal expenses. Like, what else can we give up? We have no cable. We have nothing. We're like, there's really nothing left.
You're just pouring it all in
to dilute. Like, we have our mortgage on our house, so we're kind of looking at that, going, well, I want to say our mortgage was like $1,500 a month.
Sure.
And we said, okay, maybe we quit paying our mortgage because that would save $1,500 a month. We could pay ourselves a little bit of money through the business, and we can survive. Hey, this is going to work. And my wife's like, "I'm in, babe. You're in. Let's do this. Let's rock."
Okay.
So we go to Chase Bank, who our mortgage is through, and we walk in and say, "We're like, hey, we're broke. Check our bank account. We got no money. We need to defer like a year's worth of house payments. Here's the why. We have no income. Look at the bank account." And the guy's like, "You know what? We have no problem doing that. But you have perfect credit." So we're like, "Yeah, we've never not paid our bills." He goes, "Well, I know this is going to sound weird, but we can't work with you if you have perfect credit." And we're like, well, that's odd. So how do we screw up our credit? He goes,
"Sure.
I need you to miss a few payments. Then we'll believe you."
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're doing it. And
I've never had a story like this.
They're kind of calling our bluff, like, okay, you got to miss a few payments. And we're like, we're missing a few payments.
Okay.
So we literally left Chase Bank looking at me and my wife were looking at each other, and we're like, we're in.
Yeah.
We're doing this. We're not paying our payments. And it's as freaky as it is because
to
get some help. And so anyway, my office at the time, and this is a crazy story about how people can just be used to come into your life for a very short period. There was a lady, my office was Starbucks. I love Starbucks. And so that was just the vibe there, the smell. I've sold millions of dollars and hired some incredible talent from Starbucks.
There you go.
So if you're listening and you're like, I need an office, just find your local Starbucks.
There you go.
Those make great
They call that your
offices.
third place or the second place. What do they call that, right?
Yeah, they never run out of coffee. You know what? It's always there.
You
so
buy
anyway,
the $1.90 cup and refill 9 times.
you got it, man. And so there was a lady there. Her name was Jenna, and she was a barista. And I had gotten to know Jenna. Her and her husband used to be builders. And during the 08-09 house crash, they kind of lost everything. Okay. And so she's seeing Atlas, from the beginning days now. I'm in there doing bids. She sees me interviewing people because we don't have an office. And so, she's always, "Hey, Sam, how's it going?" And we're talking. And so this day, like literally we go to the bank, this happens. Next day, I'm back at it. I'm at Starbucks working on some quotes. And she's like, "Hey, how's everything going, bud? I haven't seen you in a few days." And I said, "Things are great. And I got a crazy story to tell you. We're going to quit paying our mortgage." And she's like, "Wow, that you're just going to like quit paying your mortgage. So we're just going to quit." And she's like, why would you do that?" And I said, "Well, we're broke. And I'm trying to build this business, and we're getting it going. I've got this great team of guys. I got to pay them. We have no money left in the bank, and so we have to give up." That was our last expense, was our mortgage.
Okay.
And so she's like, "That's wild, but hey, you're figuring it out. I see your couple trucks around town." And so anyway, I'm sitting down there working on some quotes, and she comes over and she's like, "Is it okay if I sit with you for a second?" And I said, "Sure." Pull up a chair. And
yeah, what's up? Yeah.
So she says, Don't take this the wrong way, and I'm not trying to tell you to do, something that you don't know what you're doing, but she said, "It's not a good idea that you don't pay your mortgage." And in my mind, I'm like, no. Don't be saying this. Like we got the plan. We're doing this. Yeah. You're screwing it up right now, Jenna. And she's
I don't
like,
need doubt, woman.
"I don't need, who are you? I thought you had my back here."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I'm telling you, Sam, this is what's going to happen." She said, the bank is going to own you. And now you'll never be able to refi. If your business ever needs credit, you'll never be able to get it. And this is not the way to go at it. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't even want credit. What business wants credit? Right. I want to do all cash. I want to do all this. And so, you know, I am okay. Well, thank you for the advice. And I go home and my wife, and I'm kind of down now because I thought we had this plan.
Sure.
We're going to pay ourselves like $500 a week from the business. We could afford that. And so my wife's like, hey, how was your day? And I said, Jenna something. And my wife goes, who's Jenna? I'm like, oh, so she's this barista lady. So I'm telling her the story and she's like, well, I thought we had this plan. I thought we were going to do this. And I said, well, what if she's right? And my wife's like, you know, I never had peace with it. I thought from the beginning we should not do this, but maybe Jenna is literally like delivering a message to us to say, hey, don't do it. So anyway, we decide then, you know, this is like March of 12 that we've got to pay ourselves. Okay. So what do we need to pay our bills? So we're looking at our expenses. We're looking at what we got. We've got a daughter. I said, you know, if we can make $1,000 a week,
sure,
$1,000 a week, we can live on that. But I'm looking at the bank account going, man, that's like 2 of our guys' payroll, and these guys are hustling.
Right.
I'm doing bids. I'm not really recovering my cost. I need to bill enough to be able to pay this expense, this $1,000. And a friend of a friend, and I love this story, so I don't want to skip this, comes to me and says, hey, I know a guy. He works for like Best Buy facilities, and they're looking for somebody to go through all of their stores in Michigan, and pick up trash 2 nights a week.
Okay.
I'm like, pick up trash, and it's got to be done at night? Oh yeah, it's got to be done at night. So I said, what if I did that at night? And then I could just run the business during the day.
Sure.
I'm in. So how many stores? So he's like, well, it starts at Fort Gratiot, you know, Michigan.
Yeah.
And you kind of land at Okemos. And it's like,
it's a big spread.
It's a big spread.
Yeah.
So I put it in MapQuest. I'm looking at it going, okay, you can start there and make your way back. You can do it in about 4.5 hours.
What?
You can do it. Trust me. Yeah. And they made the drive. And so I said, if I start at like 1 a.m, I can go, it only takes you a few minutes at each one, and it's only 2 nights a week.
Right.
So this company wants a bid for this. So they reached out. I say, hey, I heard you want a quote for, you know, this trash pickup. Yep. What would it be? And I said, $4,000 a month. And they're like,
$1,000 a week.
They're like, well, what does $4,000 a month represent? I'm like, nothing. I need $4,000 a month, and I can't pay anybody to do it. I'm going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And so I end up landing this contract, and it was like, talk about God's timing. Like, we need to make $1,000 a week. We can't afford to do it. So literally 2 nights a week. I can't tell you how many nights we would take my wife's GMC Acadia, put our daughter in the back seat. She's a baby still.
Oh my God.
You know, almost 2.
Yeah.
And we would go and just drive this loop, and you know. Pick up bottles, freaking baby diapers, this and that. And that went on for probably about 8 months ish. And it finally got to the point business was growing, and we can go into the next chapter there. But I want to go back to the mortgage thing. So we never did that. But the business is growing, and I get this opportunity in mid to late 2012. That it's this large condo association that wants to partner with us.
Okay.
And you need all this fancy equipment to cut it, all that. And they're still a client today, by the way. And I sold it like I'm this big Barney BA dude.
Yeah.
That, you know, I got that. We've got this growing company, but we had like 4X marks, no push mowers, no nothing. And I needed equipment.
Sure.
So I'm literally trying to beg our bank to let us borrow money, our credit union at the time. And after about 6 begs, the guy's like, well, what we'll do is we'll look at your personal credit. And if that's good, maybe we can let you be personal guarantee.
Sure.
And so they end up giving us a loan for $50,000 of like overdraft protection. Like you can sleep at night money now. So mind you, we're just finally able to pay ourselves something. This deal happens with the bank where they give us $50,000, and we got a couple mowers, a couple things of pieces of equipment. And I had mentioned that our first year we broke $1 million. Having that $50,000 overdraft protection literally gave me the confidence to sell anything.
Wow.
Now I am like, I don't care where it's at. We're cutting grass in Ann Arbor. Our trucks were everywhere. Wow. And people are like, who are you?
Yeah.
And there really wasn't that many. It was just, I would bid anything, and I didn't care if it was far away because now I could keep these guys working. It's adding revenue. We're building this business. And We went on year after year for 5 years straight. We grew $1 million a year.
Whoa.
From that point. And I'll tell you, had we not paid that mortgage, had that lady not said, don't do that,
right,
we never would have had. And now, I mean, lines of credit thing. I mean, we have credit lines with Ford, General Motors, Huntington Bank. I mean, we have to, to run our scale of business.
Sure.
And, but everything happens for a reason.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just wild how that journey. So my wife, we're coming back to how she came in the business. It was like late 2012. And we're now pregnant with our son. And she's like, can I help you in the business? We had probably 20 employees now. And I'm like, hey, absolutely come in. And so now we're adding on some human resource experience. And man, like she came into our business was a mess. We had no safety stuff, none of that. So
no posters, no nothing.
So she brought a lot of the good, to what we were already doing.
Women always bring in the soft touch, the temperature. I would say of the business.
Yep.
Like, and if I meet the wife and they're in their meet, I met some mean women. I'm like, I don't know if this is like all on the level. Then I go to other businesses and I meet the wife and they're nice, they're kind, they're outgoing, they're just a nice woman to just be the temperature gauge.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, like if the man and the husband and the wife are like on the same page, you can tell in 30 seconds, right? And you guys have that going on here. So she came in on 13 or 14?
No, she would have been like pretty much late 12.
Okay.
Kind of going into she was pregnant with our son. So our son was born March of 13.
You got 2 kids, right?
We have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yep. So son and a daughter.
Yep.
And it's been because now, I mean, we've been able to, we grow together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'll write a book someday about owning a business with your wife,
yeah.
but we're so, our ways of operating are so different, but our values are aligned. So it works.
I love it.
And, the blessing and the curse is one, when I've got to work a late night, she gets why, because she sees it.
Right.
But the curse to that is we never turn off.
Sure.
So we're at the dinner table, our daughter, who at the time of this podcast, she's 12. She wants to talk about her day. And I'm just having one of those days where I've had just some magical things happen. And I just want to gloat about my day. And I'm like, you know what? It's not about me. And I'm a work in progress with trying to get to that. Like we're at this point now where we're building up other people, both in our business and with our 2 kids. And
that's a wild inception story, wild first couple of years. I love hearing that, by the way. It never gets old. You know what I mean? Always hearing like, because we've all had those come to Jesus moments of like, dude, what am I going to do? Do I go back to work for somebody? Do I go work a part-time job while getting this thing off the ground? I love what you said. Like we were working and just burning up the equipment, burning up the mowers. It wasn't a bunch of extra. Yep. And I was there for a decade. I don't even know why or how. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I had some great people come into my life and say, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't really know, to be honest with you. And that's why I love the podcast and the YouTube channel. All this, content that we put out, it's helping that next guy, you still got to put in work. You're still going to have to get your licks and put in your work and get your stripes. But nonetheless, like you don't have to just repeat the same heartache and headache that so many of us did. Growing $1 million a year. Talk to me about that. Like you said, 1 year is cool, but to do it back to back to back to back, that is a really unique story. Talk to me about that for a minute. I mean, you got people moving all over the place, equipment moving all over the place, probably moving locations maybe by then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were every year we landed in our last building, which was the one we moved to before where we're at now. That was 2013. But it was just a small shop. We added on to it with everything we could. But yeah, I mean, the thing with that growth is there was no plan behind it.
Okay.
So literally we would do anything and everything that clients wanted. And we would just literally answer the call, maybe.
Yeah.
But it was all like, we just hustled.
Yeah.
We out hustled everybody else. I mean, we were just, if there was work to be done. And so literally my whole focus was not on what does the ideal client look like. I could give 2 rips what color the piece of equipment is.
Right.
I want our brand on it. It's got to be a white truck. I want our brand on it and I want us to be a part of it. Like I would literally just stop nothing short of sin to hire a guy that I wanted to hire or sell an account that I wanted to sell. If we wanted it, we went after it.
Sure.
And what that, like, it was kind of crazy how our competition started to sell us. Like this wild thing, we would get a call from an apartment community or something. And that's, we love our multifamilies and our condos. And I'd get a call because I was the sales guy. And I would say, hey, how did you hear about us? And they're like, ironically, my lawn guy told me about you.
Oh.
And I went, why would he tell you about me? And she's like, well, he goes, I'm guessing that Atlas guy's trying to come in here. And she's like, I've never heard of him.
Oh.
But maybe I do.
Yeah.
Literally, like, people were, because you
advocating for you.
They were advocating
wow.
for us.
Wow.
And so I mean, it was just, the growth happened so quick. But residential, commercial, we didn't care. Ann Arbor, Benton Harbor, Michigan, Lansing, Michigan, we didn't care. We would just make it work.
Yeah.
And I had guys that they were so bought in to this non-existent vision, they just knew that they trusted me. They knew that, hey, if Sam says it's going to work. And so I would wake up every morning with this mindset that I've got, these 30, 40, 50 people relying on me to keep them busy.
Sure.
I can't fail.
Wow.
And my wife supported me in the journey. And so it was like, what do I have to lose now? We're able to pay our bills. We still were broke, dude. I mean, I can tell you how to do $5 million in revenue and bleed cash, literally bleed cash.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you, because Corey Ballard was like, dude, we were doing 10 million. We were losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, how? And when you've been there, you're like, it's easy to do. When you're maybe in my shoes and I'm like doing a couple $100,000, I'm like, if I did 300 grand and I spent 325 to do it,
yep,
I would freak out. I'm like, how's that? I've never been in that position where we're just growing at the speed of cash or whatever, just millions and millions and millions. So I'm just like, how that's a crazy conversation that a lot of these guys don't get exposed to, myself included, on the regular. So that is freaking crazy. So you, when we were doing the shop tour, you were talking about sweet spots.
Yep.
You're like, yeah, there will be levels where you're bringing in millions in cash and making hundreds of thousands of profits. There's also times you do $1 million and spending millions. Yep. So any helpful tips for those guys that are maybe they're hanging on by a thread? They're like, hey, we're at 3, we're going to 5, hopefully for the break even. But then I also have the other people, the other guru camp that says, well, you should be profitable at every level. Yeah. Right, one of those things. So, any thoughts or suggestions you can give to those guys that are in the thick of it? And
if somebody has figured out in their journey in the landscape business how to be profitable at every level, sure, you should be on one of Brian's podcasts because it was one of those things that when you're going through the different phases. And I'll tell you, I felt like my original dream come true. Like I would be God's gift to landscape entrepreneurs was if we could do $1 million in revenue and have 15 employees. I'm like, that's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Literally year one. So I'm like, I can't stop. I am like, I have more energy than that. Yeah. I've got more drive than that. So we're going to skip that. We're going to skip that first $1 million. Yep. So I forgot what that looked like really quick.
Yeah.
So we get to the second $1 million. And at the second $1 million, now I had to hire an operations guy because I couldn't do everything myself. Mm-hmm. And it's different when the operations guy at $1 million is typically he's doing something to recoup his payroll. He's running a mower a couple days a week. He's kind of still out and about. Well, when you get to that $2 million spot, now you've got a couple people. You got to have a guy fix your stuff. So you got a mechanic who's making, 50, 60 grand a year, whatever.
Sure.
Now you've got an operations guy who's helping you print the route list, things like that. Humbly said, I was a high school dropout.
Right.
Dude, 11th grade, met my wife in school. She's a couple years older than me. You can't tell by looking at us. But she leaves and goes to college. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever being here. I'm out of here.
Okay.
So I quit and got a little job for back when the Flint Journal used to exist.
Yeah.
And I got a job there and went from that to cutting grass. And so I didn't know about overheads. I didn't know about expenses. So we were doing jobs and selling jobs like Sam's the one doing the work. So I'm charging a rate. We were just cheap.
Right.
And so, I got guys doing great work. They're willing to work for pretty cheap because they're like, hey, someday Sam will pay me more money.
Sure.
But we had these like phase 1 systems, but we were phase 3 size at that point.
Yeah.
And so there's overheads that we have no extra to recover that. And, the cost of equipment, the cost of these payments that we didn't think about before. Right. And I didn't know how to read a profit and loss statement. I didn't know it. We didn't track receipts. My wife, we were growing so quick, and my wife's a mom, we're just kind of like throw them in a shoebox. We'll figure it out later.
Yep.
And,
very common conversation with so many people.
So at that $2 million spot, really 2 to 3 million, we were too big to be small, but too small to be big.
Yep.
So we've got the overhead and the payroll of a $4 to $5 million company, but we're this 2 to 3. So there's really no meat left on the bone for all these extra expenses.
Yes.
And so I'm barely, we're always the last ones to get paid as the owner. And so we're paying our guys, we're paying the banks, we're building this empire, but we're moving so quick that there's no strategy yet. And really the turning point for us was right around the $5 million mark, which was like 2017, 2018. Probably my 2 darkest years in business. We're doing projects that are like awesome enough to win awards now. So we're getting all this national recognition. People are wanting to write magazine articles on us. But dude, I would literally go home at night and like cry in my truck because we were so broke.
Eating a PBJ.
Oh, dude,
I've heard this.
Miserable.
I've heard people don't believe it.
Miserable.
They don't believe it that you could be doing $5 million and still paying yourself $30,000 a year.
100. It was just so dark, and I was just a horrible leader to my team now. And I'm like, well, I got to build this leadership team. But do I really have who? I'm just some dummy from Flint that dropped out of school. I'm a landscaper.
Sure.
I really should just go back to picking up that trash again because there was no stress then like I'm having now. And,
okay.
It was a dark couple years, but it was during you don't grow when everything's good, and it was literally doing like we're getting this exposure. I've now got I had a great friend, and I'll mention his name. His name's Blake Crawford. So Blake, if you get a chance to hear this podcast, dude, you changed my life, brother.
Yeah.
And Blake's a friend of mine from Florida that I met on a trip down there one year. He happens to originally been from Michigan.
Okay.
And he has an incredible landscape company down there. He sold it last year, punk. And so he got out, but they were doing like 22 million when he sold.
Wow.
And Blake took me under his wing, through kind of like 2014, 2015, and just. Even though we spoke 2 different languages, he was humble enough to like just take my phone calls.
Wow.
And when I wanted to vent, I didn't have anybody. You can't vent to your employees.
Right.
So I'd vent to my wife and I'd vent to Blake Crawford.
Yeah.
And he's still a friend today. And, but man, I remember getting to go into his operations, and, this was probably when they were about 15 million in revenue. And I walk into his office and he laughs when I tell the story because he doesn't even remember this, but we go in his office and it's pitch quiet. There's literally one girl with a phone. And I'm like, you're doing 15 million.
There's no chaos, basically.
No chaos.
Yeah.
We're like 3 million, 4 million. My office was like Wall Street. Everybody's like, buy, sell, get rid of it, cut his head off, get him. It was, and I remember going to his office.
He took my truck.
Yeah. Seriously. Like, he smoked in my vehicle, this and that. And I remember going in there and thinking, this is what I want.
Okay.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
This vision of everybody just knowing. So you probably noticed on the tour since you've been here.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what they're responsible for now. Having those systems,
there's some peace there.
There's peace, and literally, it's just we had to add Sonos radio because I thought the office was too darn quiet. Like we need some radio in our life here. But going through those years where it was during that when we started to identify like what kind of project do we want to do. What kind of, do we want to be more commercial? We were plowing 100 residential driveways, and it wasn't like we weren't making money with it, but what I learned is it takes a special person to plow residential driveways. You would think it'd be easier. Absolutely not.
Right.
Parking lots are easy.
Sure.
So we're like, we got to get out of this. It really took, there's kind of this unwritten rule that if your business makes it 5 years, you're successful. You did it. I really feel like for us that was 10 years.
Sure.
Because at 5 years we were still growing so much and figuring out who we wanted to be when we grew up.
Right.
That at 10 years, that was the sweet spot where we're like, now we know the kind of clients we want to service. Now we know we are stupid driving down here in Ann Arbor and all these areas. And so we're slowly just starting to consolidate routes. And, I remembered there was one spring where we started the year where we had like 3 lawn trucks parked.
Okay.
Because we had consolidated our routes so much.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, these trucks have payments on them. What are we going to do? And literally it was like 6 weeks and those trucks were full.
Wow.
With profitable work, with clients right in route dense areas where we wanted to be.
Yep.
And we've just kind of built off that. And that's kind of the vision, that I've kind of conveyed now to our team. It's like, hey, we don't need to be all things to all people. We just need to add value to them and add value to their lives, whether that's putting a pool in, whether that's putting a patio in they're going to make memories on, or it's cutting their lawn so they can have more time as a family. But remember, it's bigger than just cutting grass, but something magical is going to happen there that you're not going to see.
Right.
And so just, kind of approaching with that message, and now our team just gets it, and everybody here's a salesperson now. Because everybody, they're always trying to sell that.
I got to meet half the dang team today, I think. Yeah. And first off, just the crews, just the rank and file dudes, like they were all really nice. And awesome. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a YouTuber guy. Actually, a couple guys out of your crew came up and like, dude, I watch your videos. I didn't know you're coming here today. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, dude, I love your freaking content. He goes, I use it out in the field, like mowing stripes. I'm like, really? Great. And he's like, yeah, dude. He goes, dude, this is a great company. You're going to love it here. He's like, are you doing a tour? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, this is great. So it's like, it's so weird. Like he's like part of it, One thing I wanted to, I didn't want to gloss over, but I love what you were saying. Like, talking about growing, because I talked to a friend of mine, Corey Ballard, Perfect Cut, Des Moines, Iowa. Great guy. I consider him a friend and a mentor. He still takes my call, you know what I'm saying? So
love it.
Very grateful. But he said they just brute forced 10, 12 million. He goes, they didn't have systems or this or that. It was just So here's my quick points to some of you guys that are wanting to grow. That I've been able to do is that you don't have to wait for all the stoplights to be green or for somebody to anoint you or feel a special calling from Jesus himself. Okay. You can still grow and grow to 1, 2, 5, 10 million. Now, I will also say this. I've heard Corey say this, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'd love to have, if you want to piggyback on this, just brute forcing it to 10, 15 million, you may not be able to sustain a real company by just brute forcing it. You guys had to maybe downshift a gear, get a plan, a vision. Can you weigh in on that for just a hot second? Because you guys were down in your customer, your mission, your team, your culture, your systems. I don't think a lot of people spend a lot of time on that. They love the technician stuff, and at best they have a couple team members to grow a $2 million company. Yep. I just don't think it's going to be sustainable to grow a $10, $15, $20 million company.
Yeah, there's so much you could unpack on that, but the thing is that nothing will ever out trump sales and people.
That's
right.
True. Yep.
So literally, if you can write the best business plan book in the world, that thing can be 4 inches thick of this is how I'm going to onboard. This is how I'm going to do this. This is how I'm going to do this. Dude, people aren't robots.
Right.
And so if you've got a business that's, let's just say you've got 7 to 10 employees and you want to grow, and your way of starting that is, building this big elaborate systems library, you're going to scare people off.
Okay.
And so it's a lot easier to figure it out when the sales are there and you got a great team. Mm-hmm. And so those things were they were truthful, they were too much of our focus. Mm-hmm. So the sales were so quick because it's all we cared about was literally selling jobs and hiring good people.
Sure.
And so we put all of our focus on that. We weren't focusing on making money. We weren't focusing on onboarding systems, recruiting systems, retention systems. Our ways, it worked to get us to a certain point. But it was like, if we're going to continue to build this thing and scale this thing and empower other leaders, we got to put an infrastructure in place. And so, my role pivoted as time went on into being more of approaching the business from an altitude perspective, just to make sure that everybody had what they needed to succeed, where I could focus more now on really, where do we want to take this?
Yeah, I would have to say it's a lot of people that say working in the business versus on the business.
100, and I know that is
cliche of cliches.
Oh, I got told that by so many people, and here's the thing: there's a certain point you have to work in the business because you got to pay yourself.
Yes,
but that should be I think what happens, and this is why companies get stagnant on their growth, is they spend too much time there.
Yeah.
So
sure,
you got to work in the business so you can pay yourself. That doesn't mean 70 hours a week because you're trying to pay yourself. I told you $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
But I was only doing it 2 nights a week by going out for a few hours and picking up garbage.
Sure.
And I wasn't paying anybody to do it. So if I would have, most people think, well, I got to do that, I better go mow 1 day a week. So when you think about what the true cost is of your time, and I've kind of grown obsessed about this over the years, about your return on your energy, not so much return on investment, but what is your time worth?
Right.
So when you think about that, and a potential person, I used to be I'll take a free lunch. Somebody wants to take me to lunch. There were like 5 years I never paid for lunch, and somebody would call, hey, can I come do a tour? I'm in.
Sure.
Come on, see what we got going. You're buying lunch today.
Sure.
And when you look at that and you dial it back and say, okay, I just spent 3 hours with this person, and I don't know how to not pour out.
Right.
And you get done with that, and then you're like, yeah, but I didn't spend any time, mentoring in my brother Chris or my brother Alex, or giving, our lawn manager some mentorship, because I just assume they're doing their job.
Right.
You're not investing in them. So I just became a stickler about my time.
Yes.
And just making sure that, everybody, that my time was aligned to where if somebody needed something, I can be there for them.
Yeah.
But man, through those dark times, like I would just shut my door in my office and I'm like, I'm busy. I can't talk to you right now, or I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so, when the work in your business, work on your business, you got to work in your business for a phase just to get you through. But then, at some point you got to break out of that. And that's where people get stuck, I think. And I love working in the business now, but everything I work on, it's all fun stuff.
Well,
it's designing gifts for our team and stuff like that. I love getting to do that stuff.
I got to say, one quick thing here, respectfully of your time, it's 11:45. So I don't want to keep you longer because we got a hard cut off for you because you're a busy dude. And I was like, hey, I don't want to sneak in here and just whatever. Be like, dude, I'm blocking off half the day. I'm like, well, that's already more than I need. So any which way, super appreciate that. We actually realized after like not even 5 minutes talking to each other, I'm like, hey, you ever heard of Josh Latimer? And you're like, you know Josh? I'm like, you know Josh? And you're like, dude, I talk to Josh every day. I'm like, I talk to Josh a couple times a year. So Josh is a genius. And a lot of stuff that you're saying, I feel like has helped me. And I heard it from Josh. So, and Josh didn't give you the key to the city, nothing like that. You guys built this whole thing on your own, and with a lot of great people, of course. But, success leaves clues. Like you're saying so many things that Josh teaches and other friends of mine teach, and the Troys and the Corys and all of the people that I, thank God, have access to and get to have just a conversation with, let alone a phone call or an email. Sure. And so it's so rewarding hearing you share and just pour it out there for all these guys. Like you're making a huge impact. So we really appreciate your time invested into this whole conversation and the shop tour, of course. One other quick thing I was going to say is I have a fleeting thought, but any which way, it was... what was I going to say with it really quick was, I don't know. I can't even think of it right now. So any which way. That being said, is there anything that you want to leave these guys really quick, like wrap up thought or nugget? I always try to say like, hey, what's your best business piece of advice or something that you wish here's what I was going to say a minute ago was, don't let like your guys' growth or success be determined by like what somebody else is doing. You guys were growing $1 million a year for many years in a row. Okay. I do coaching calls with people and you have, people you pour into as well. And they're like, hey, what should I do for revenue this year? And I would say, I don't know. It's up to you. Because I'll do a coaching call with somebody and 30 grand of revenue is a great year for them. And then other guys, I had one guy I did a coaching call with. He's like, yeah, I did 800,000 my first 6 months in business.
Yep.
And so I don't ever want to be putting self-limiting beliefs on you guys that are listening into the show. So I love your guys' story because... and sometimes maybe there'll be a little bit of an outlier, but nonetheless, if you guys want to grow that next regional company and everybody's like, the economy's different and people that and life is different and this and that. And I'm like, bullcrap. Like you can still do it. You guys have only been doing this for 12 years. Yeah. You're not a 40-year-old dinosaur, right? Or national company. You guys were able to chisel out and not the biggest market. No. To be fair, this isn't like the biggest market. You don't have like
it's Flint. I mean, humbly said, like it is still at the end of the day. It's in Flint, Michigan.
It's a little bit depressed area sometimes, and but you guys aren't in like just booming metropolis of Tampa or Georgia or whatever Austin, Texas with Tesla moving there, right? Like you guys are making lemonade out of lemons, whatever you call it, right? But you guys are figuring it out. So I just want to give some encouragement to you guys listening in that if you want to go for it. It's still wide open. Okay, so that was my quick soapbox. But anything that you want to wrap up with the show with, I want to be respectful of your time. But anything you want to leave these guys, but if not, I mean, even if you didn't leave them with anything, this is freaking crazy, dude. Like I'd love to get you back on the show. I got to extend another invitation. We talked about maybe doing a spring shop tour. Perfect. We could talk more mowing and more equipment, but you guys have it going on, man. I'm just so humbled and thankful right now.
Appreciate that. I'll end with one thing, and this is something that's been my focus the last few years, is just take the time to learn one new thing every day.
Okay.
One thing. Literally, if you wake up in the morning, so many people feel like they didn't accomplish anything throughout the day because they wake up, they jump in their truck and they go to work.
Okay.
They go in and they're getting their crews, they're doing this, they're cutting grass, whatever it is. But there's never anything in there where there's personal growth time. So, if I look back at it, like just because you're running your business for 5 years or running your business for 10 years, it's not that you've got 10 years of experience, because if you're not pushing to grow, there is no stretch there. There is nothing new being learned, things like that.
I love that.
So I would encourage that. And yeah, I mean, I could add so many things.
Dude, you can. We've done 4 podcasts here today. I'm like, why does it? I'm like, I was talking to the AV guys, or your social team, Alex, Chris, and I'm like, is he like this all the time? Like, yeah, he just doesn't turn off. And I said, like, all this is a podcast. They're laughing actually right here. I said, this is like 4 podcasts today. We did like 3 different rants you did, and I'm like, dude, that was gold. Like, that's marketing gold. And dude, you'd be surprised, but people need this stuff, man. It's crazy, like simple stuff, or even like the macro stuff that you're putting out there. So seriously, hey, real quick, I'll do a selfish plug for you on your behalf. You have a newsletter that you pour out to people in a leadership fashion. Because we'll leave links in the description if you guys want to follow. And I encourage you to do follow Atlas on Facebook, social. It's Atlas _outdoors, I think.
I think so. Yep, Atlas Outdoor. You'll find it. Yeah. ATLAS.
So guys, support them, check them out, say, hey, shoot me a DM. Sam and the rest of his team will follow that. But your leadership newsletter, is it weekly or daily?
It's weekly. It used to be daily. Okay. But that was part of I talked about return on energy, and it was just a lot.
Oh, that is a lot.
And so I would literally, man, I just have so much that I want to share. So I literally used to do a teaching every day.
Okay.
And I've taken it down to once a week now. So cool. You can subscribe. My personal website's just samgembel.com. So
how do you spell Gembel, by the way?
Gembel.
Gembel. So like a gimbal, like a camera, but Gembel.
Close enough, man.
Gotcha. No, but I want to make sure that these guys find that. So subscribe to the newsletter if you guys want to check it out. Yep. We'll leave a link in the description. When does that go out, by the way?
Usually on Mondays.
Okay.
But this part, man, if it's a powerful teaching, sometimes they take me a few days.
Yeah.
So this week was Tuesday, but my goal is Monday.
Yeah.
My goal is Monday.
Heck yeah. Seriously, that's awesome. And so you said that there's several hundred, if not thousands of people subscribed to that all across the industry, inside the industry and outside of the industry. Yep. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll tell you what, like, servant leader, just great person, others focused, great team here. Everybody in the team has been great, by the way. Like I was like, hey, did you tell people that like to do a song and dance? You're like, dude, these are just who they are. They're great people. I got to meet Kyle and I don't even know. There's so many. My brain's fried right now, but there's so many great people I'm walking through. Chris, all these other Zach. I don't even know. Like shout out one to everybody, right? But they're all great dudes. So seriously, thank you for the time of day. And we'll get you back on the show, man.
I'm excited to be back, man.
Sam, you're the best.
Appreciate it, Brian.
All right, guys. Well, we'll button it up for this episode right now. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for supporting the Shop Tour series. Let's get back over to the show announcements, and then we'll catch up with you guys here in a quick minute.
Want to make your landscaping jobs a bit easier? Check out the Dumper Dog Dump Insert from Buyers Products. A Dumper Dog transforms your pickup into a dump truck, saving you time, effort, and cost when it comes to unloading loose, heavy material such as dirt, mulch, or stone.
Hey guys, it's Brian. I have to take a quick second and chime in and let you guys know how much I have really enjoyed the Buyers Dump Insert. As most of you know, we've had our dump insert on our red truck Thunder now for almost 5 years, and it's been an absolute game changer for us. From getting mulch and material to a job site to spring and fall cleanups use with leaf removal and fall cutbacks, it can do it all. In short, it's removed one of the biggest bottlenecks I've had in my business with hauling material. I encourage you guys to check one out for yourself. They have a bunch of options, including one that's perfect for you.
The Dumper Dog bolts to the frame of your truck and offers a dump angle of up to 45 degrees. The removable tailgate accommodates standard items such as plywood sheets and pallets and allows for easy access to the truck bed. With a payload capacity of up to 6,000 pounds, the Dumper Dog is ready for just about any job. Do you have that dog in you? Visit buyersproducts.com to learn more and find a dealer near you. Nothing works like a dog.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.